Hi, and welcome to the second video in our series on teacher tools at Penji. In this video, I'm going to go over how our adaptive curriculum works, and specifically what role you as a teacher have in helping students who are struggling a little bit. So we're going to go over how we support students on the site, how we prevent copying and pasting, and ultimately how we need a little help from you to be able to make sure that students learn and are not copying and pasting. So if you've used the site at all, you know the basic way that it works is a video lesson is presented, teaches some topics, and then students need to go through some programming challenges to practice and demonstrate the stuff that was gone over in the video. For instance, here's an example of an assignment that we have. And the learning objective here is how to write a while loop based off of a single condition, right? Like the kids are supposed to write a loop that, while there is water on the left, the penguin's supposed to move forward. And when a student is presented with this, they do have an option to see the solution. If they just are completely stumped or they just don't know why their code isn't working or even where to start, they can click on the solution button. And that'll provide them with the code, right? So they can see the code, and if they want, in this case, they can just copy and paste the code and put it here. However, when a student clicks on the solution button, they are now going to need to do a second version of this assignment. This version will have the same learning goal. In this case, a student is going to have to write a while loop based off of rocks being on the penguin's side. And it'll be a very similar loop, but not exactly the same. They can't just copy and paste the code to get through this. And they had to do this because they used the code that we gave them to solve the first version. And you'll notice again there's a solution button, and if a student is stumped, yet again they can see the code. And just like the last time, if they click on that button, they're going to have to do a third version, and we call these take 1, 2, and 3. So now they're on take 3, the third version of this learning goal to write a while loop based off of one condition. Again, there's a button they can press to see the code. And here's where things get interesting, and here's where your role as a teacher becomes important. In the final version, there is no solution. There is no way for someone to just click on the solution button and move on. A student is going to need to use the code and the lessons from the prior 3 examples in order to try to solve this last version. Inevitably, you are going to have some students who still are just really stumped on this particular topic. And here's where your role as a teacher becomes important. As a teacher with a teacher account, you actually have access to the code that solves this final version. So if you just really quickly want to see the code, you can look at it on your account. And now here's where it's also important that you are a registered teacher. When you join the website, you want to make sure you sign up as a teacher, and if you didn't do that and you already have a class, you already are on the website, you can email us and we'll change it. But again, these are tools that only exist for teachers. You can go in and you can see the solution, and there's another thing that you can do, which I am going to go over in a longer separate video, but I'll give you a quick rundown of it right now. What you can do is you can actually collaborate with your students. Let's say that your student was stuck. I'll go back to the student view here real quick. Let's say your student was stuck on this final version. They can't see the code, right? And they can email you, or you can just see that a student hasn't moved past this one and they need some help. And what you can do is you can collaborate with them. Again, I'll have a whole separate video on this at another time, but let me show you what I mean by that. If you have your classroom set up on Penji, here's a demo teacher account we have. You can go into the gradebook and you can see the students that you have in your class. And let's say we know that Alex here is really stumped on some assignment. We'll look at Pam here. Pam is stuck on writing loops with Penji. Right, so if I click on this icon, I'm now going to basically go into Pam's account, and I can either click on this or I can go to the assignments and find the assignment that I want to help her with. And now I'm actually looking in at Pam's editor here. And I can write some code here if I wanted to. I could write, penguin I can leave comments. Right, so again, I'm in Pam's workspace. I'm in her code editor, and I just wrote a little code to help get her started. I wrote a little comment to give her a little tip on how to do this, and if I hit save, now the next time that my student logs in, she's going to actually see this in her code editor. So the way this ties into your teacher account is you can always see the solution as a teacher. And if you want to just check out what the answer is, you can click on the solution, and then you can go in and do what I just did a minute ago and collaborate with your student because they will not have this code. Right, so this is the way that we provide differentiation on our website. Each lesson, each challenge has one particular learning goal, but a student will have multiple attempts to try to achieve it, and they can keep seeing how we solve it until eventually they have to solve it on their own. And that's the point where you as a teacher can access the solution if you want, or you can, if you already know how to help them, you can just collaborate with them and leave a little feedback on your student's editor. Now, what about the student who was able to solve the first version of this assignment? They never looked at the code, they just read the assignment, wrote the code, and had no trouble. This student will never see the other versions. There's no need to, right? They clearly understood what they were doing, and we have this adaptive, differentiated instruction built in to help students that are not quite as ready as other students. Okay, that's the end of our second video on how to collaborate with your students and use our adaptive curriculum to help your struggling learners.